Welcome back to another episode of the franchise here on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music. This is the first episode since last week's podcast. Was supposed to put one out on Monday. Didn't have the time. Didn't have the time on Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. So we're here a week removed from the last episode. Supposed to put one out on Monday, but now we're here on Friday with another episode. We're going to quickly mention NFL Week 1 since it is very, it's past news at this point. But quickly recap NFL Week 1, look at last night's Thursday night football game between the Vikings and the Eagles, and we're going to make our Week 2 picks in the NFL. Let's start with the biggest news to come out of NFL Week 1, and that is Aaron Rodgers tearing his Achilles on his fourth play as the quarterback of the New York Jets, and now he is out for the season. Wow. I mean, that was just crazy. To think, first of all, it was only 5 days ago that Aaron Rodgers made his Jets debut against the Buffalo Bills at home with the Jets on 9/11, only lasts 4 plays and then tears his Achilles. It's just, it is very, very shocking and surprising, and it just is very disappointing because, honestly, no disrespect to Zach Wilson, but full disrespect, basically. I do not want to watch Zach Wilson play football on all of these primetime games that the Jets are going to have for the remainder of the season. The Jets have among the most primetime NFL games this entire season of any team in the league, and now they're going to be manning Zach Wilson at quarterback for the remainder of the year. And Zach Wilson didn't look great when he came in and filled in for Aaron Rodgers on Monday night. He went 14 of 21, 140 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. He looked like typical Zach Wilson that we've seen the previous 2 years of his NFL career. He was just not good. The good news for the Jets is that their defense and their offensive skill position players are among the best in the NFL. That defense that the New York Jets have out there on the field is a top 3 defensive unit in the entire NFL. I think the 49ers and the Cowboys are the only 2 teams that you could realistically put above the New York Jets. But the Jets defense is incredible with Quinnen and Quincy Williams leading the way, along with Sauce Gardner out there as well. And then, I mean, this team is just incredible. Jordan Whitehead had 3 interceptions on that Monday night game. And then the offense is crazy as well. Breece Hall, coming back from his ACL injury last year, had 127 yards, an 83-yard rush at one point on Monday. Garrett Wilson is going to be cementing himself as a top 10 receiver by the end of the year if he's not already. And I think he's going to be pushing top 5. I mean, the catch he made in the end zone, bobbling the football 3 times and then catching it with 2 fingers, was one of the greatest plays I have ever seen. Garrett Wilson is incredible. Breece Hall is incredible. They still have Lazard, Dalvin Cook. And then the defense. The defense is the heart and soul of this Jets team, regardless of who's at quarterback now. I mean, we saw it last year. This Jets team with an amazing defense. They went 7-10, I believe. They basically can replicate that with the current circumstances that are surrounding this team. Without Aaron Rodgers, their floor is still going to be 7 wins. I mean, that defense is going to be able to carry them, and Garrett Wilson is going to be able to make plays like we saw on Monday night when he needs to make big-time plays to keep this team in the game. And then what a way to end the game for Xavier Gibson with a game-winning punt return touchdown in overtime after making the team in Hard Knocks, and then winning it after all that happened throughout that first game for the Jets. Rodgers, seemingly the season being over after 4 plays in many Jets fans' eyes, coming in to save the day. But I don't want to focus as much on the Jets. Surprisingly, they somehow won this game without Aaron Rodgers and now without him for the season. But the Buffalo Bills, I think, are being an overlooked team because of the news of Rodgers and his injury. Josh Allen and the Bills, they should have won this game. The minute Aaron Rodgers went down, this game should have been a Buffalo Bills win. But once again, like we've been saying since last season, Josh Allen struggles with keeping the football secure, and he turns it over at an extremely high rate. He had 3 interceptions on Monday night. He was sacked 5 times, uh, 29 to 41, 236 yards and a touchdown. He is just too aggressive. He's too over aggressive, especially when your team at one point going into halftime was up by a pretty decent margin on the New York Jets coming out of the half. There's no reason that you need to be over aggressive. You need to run the football, run out the clock, and manage the time of possession. So yeah, the Bills coming out of the half with a lead, with Aaron Rodgers out, with Zach Wilson in, with the spirit and the whole atmosphere that the stadium that this Jets team had seemingly disappear as soon as Rodgers gets hurt. The Bills should have won this game, and coming out of the half, Josh Allen had no reason to be as aggressive with the football as he was. And look, Josh Allen is one of the most talented quarterbacks in the entire NFL. He is. There is no debating that. There really isn't. His arm talent, his ability to make big time plays, to fit balls into tight windows, to really lead potential game winning drives is among the best in the NFL at the quarterback position. But where he gets in trouble and where he's gotten in trouble throughout his career is turning the football over, being over aggressive, and just not making the smart decision, right? There was times throughout that Monday night game where Josh Allen facing pressure, third down, not even on third down, just he's facing pressure. There was times on third down, yes, but where he's holding the football too long, he's not throwing it away. He's trying to force a football into a tight window with Stephon Diggs or to one of his other receivers instead of just throwing the football away. And then what does that lead to? That leads to a turnover. You look at one of the interceptions he threw, he completely overthrew the football. I mean, Jordan Whitehead got all 3 of his interceptions. So what a day for him. He was reading Josh Allen incredibly well. But we've seen it throughout Josh Allen's career. And the stats going around that he has the most turnovers since he came into the NFL in 2018. And that's just what's going to happen when you have a quarterback as aggressive with all of the talent that Josh Allen has. And look, it's going to be hard to tell a guy with the talent that he has to say, hey, look, you don't need to be this aggressive. You don't need to be throwing the ball in this window. You don't need to throw the ball in this situation. It's hard to tell a guy that when he has the talent and he has the ability to do it, but more often than not, and we've seen it with Josh Allen, where you're going to get in trouble more times than you're going to have success. And that leads to games like this where you should have won the game. The Jets had no business winning this game, no business being competitive, being in this game past the first few minutes where Rodgers was the quarterback for the Jets. As soon as Zach Wilson stepped foot on that field, the Bills should have locked that game up. Instead, costly turnovers. I mean, big time turnovers, 3 interceptions, costs. Josh Allen lost in this game. He really did. In the past, not necessarily always on Josh Allen. It's been other things. But this time is on Josh Allen because he's just turning the football over at it's too high of a rate. All right, let's move on here. I mean, looking at the rest of week 1, like I said, it was so long ago at this point. I mean, some of the is it even worth going through any of this? Jordan Love looked amazing in his debut as a starter versus the Bears. Yes, it's the Bears, but he had 3 touchdowns, 245 yards. I think he's going to be incredible. I think he's going to be very, very good. The Dolphins-Chargers game was a fun one to watch as well. And then the Cowboys stomped the New York Giants. It wasn't. I mean, obviously the Giants didn't score a single point, so it was not a competitive game. It was an utter dominance by the Dallas Cowboys. All right, let's go to a more recent game, a more relevant game in the news cycle, and that is the Minnesota Vikings, Philadelphia Eagles Thursday night matchup that we had last night. Eagles win this one 34-28, going to 2-0 on the season, and the Vikings fall to 0-2. But when you look at Minnesota, they are not a bad 0-2. All right. They played actually particularly well in this game against the Eagles. Now, obviously, they lost that game, and there's a pretty glaring reason why they lost. But you look at their week 1 matchup against Tampa, they lost that game 20-17. Kirk Cousins was amazing, 33 of 44, 344 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Jefferson had 150 yards receiving. Addison had a touchdown and 61 yards. Kirk Cousins fumbled the football twice, threw an interception. And then Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers were able to win that game. But you look at last night against the Eagles, Kirk Cousins was stellar. He was amazing. 31 for 44, 364 yards, and 4 touchdowns in that game. Justin Jefferson with 11 receptions, 159 yards. Obviously, he had a touchdown. Got called for a touchback. That was a very controversial call right there. Jordan Addison has been a touchdown machine, 3 receptions, 72 yards, a touchdown in this game. TJ Hawkinson with 2 touchdowns, and KJ Osborne with a touchdown as well. So look, Kirk Cousins and the receiving core for Minnesota were amazing in last night's game. But the struggles for the Vikings were on the fact that they fumbled the football 4 times and they lost it every single time. They gave away the football to the Philadelphia Eagles. And what do you need to do when you're up, a few scores? The Eagles were up pretty nicely going into the half. You just need to run the football. And that is exactly what the Philadelphia Eagles did last night. They had 19 rushing first downs. They had 39 minutes of possession in the game last night. DeAndre Swift, had 28 carries, 175 yards, and a touchdown rushing. Jalen Hurts had 2 touchdowns on the ground. He also had a touchdown in the air with an interception. Devontae Smith absolutely mossed a Vikings DB. He had 131 yards and a touchdown. A.J. Brown, not really too existent in this game. Obviously, he got into it a little bit with Jalen Hurts about his involvement seemingly. But this was a good old-fashioned ground and pound for the Philadelphia Eagles. Their offensive line is obviously the best in the NFL. They were missing Kenneth Gainwell in this game. He was out. But when you have DeAndre Swift behind the best offensive line in the NFL, he's going to rush for 175 yards and a touchdown and really dominate this game for the Eagles. They haven't looked great over these first 2 games. I mean, they had big leads going into the half against the Vikings and the Patriots, and they both ended up as 1-score victories. So they need to tighten up, the second half performance. When you have as big as a lead as you do going into the half, there's no reason that a team should come back into this game and make it a competitive football game, make it a 1-score game at any point when you're going into the half with that big of a lead. Obviously, that's tons of time. You have 2 quarters of football coming out of the half to bounce back if you're the opposing team and tie that game up or bringing it within 1 possession. But if you're the Eagles, you have no business allowing that to happen. But the Eagles just dominated this game on the ground. And yes, the Vikings are 0-2. They are 0-2. They have the potential to fall to 0-3. Although I think they play the Carolina Panthers next week, so I'm not entirely sure if they're going to fall to 0-3. Or actually, that's not who. We got to pull up their schedule real quick. I know they pay the Panthers, but I don't think it is next week. The Vikings play the Chargers next week, so they have the possibility of falling to an 0-3 start. And obviously, we all know that an 0-3 start, the odds of you making the postseason are slim to none. It has happened, but the odds are not in your favor. But the Vikings are a good 0-2 team. They are. Their offense is incredible with Kirk Cousins playing some of the best football of his career. Jefferson, Addison, Osborne. The area of struggle is the running game. Now, I'm not going to dog or bag on Alexander Mattison because he's had some things said to him over the last 24 hours that no one should ever be hearing in their life. So I'm not going to really comment on his performance last night. It was not one of the best performances of his career. But look, the Vikings, they need to get a real running game going. That's why the loss of Dalvin Cook was so confusing, because Dalvin Cook is a good running back. He was a good back last year. He hasn't, yes, he's missed time with injuries, but it's not like he's missed an entire season with injuries at any point in the last 4 seasons. But anyways, the Vikings offense is great. The defense has some good pieces to it. Obviously, they let up 34 points. They got ran through last night. But the Vikings are a good 0-2 team. I do think they're a good 0-2 team. Now, if they fall to 0-3, and it's the same situation of turning over the football, not playing defense, and not having a running game, then the question is that this team's just not a good football team outside of the passing game. All right. We're going to make week 2 picks. Very short episode here. I mean, we're only going to probably be at like 20 minutes long. Week 2 picks. In week 1, we went 8 for 8. I got 8 right, 8 wrong. This week, I already have 1 pick right. I did pick the Philadelphia Eagles. And I know I can just say that, but proving it right here, I had to lock these in on before the game. So I picked the Eagles to win that game. All right, let's go through the list here. The Las Vegas Raiders taking on the Buffalo Bills. Raiders starting out the season 1-0. Bills are 0-1. I'm going to take the Buffalo Bills to win this game. Ravens versus Bengals. In division matchup, with Bengals looking to avoid an 0-2 start, and I think they do so, winning this game against the Baltimore Ravens. The Chiefs versus Jaguars. Rematch of last year's divisional round between these two teams. I think the Kansas City Chiefs win this game. Chargers versus Titans. I'm going to take the Los Angeles Chargers. The Titans are horrible. Ryan Tannehill is a horrible quarterback. We saw that on display in week 1 against against the New Orleans Saints. The Titans they're not a good football team. Derrick Henry is seemingly past his prime. Tannehill is not a good quarterback, and DeAndre Hopkins signed with the wrong team in the offseason. Green Bay versus Atlanta. This is a very interesting matchup. The Falcons are a confusing team. They really are. Ritter is not a good quarterback. Like, let's just get that out there right now. Desmond Ritter is not a good NFL quarterback. What he did in week 1 was not impressive in any way, shape, or form. Pulling it up here, he went 15 for 18, 115 yards passing, and 1 touchdown. They ran the ball a lot with Algier. Bijan only had 10 carries. He was involved in the passing game. But look, the Atlanta Falcons are not going to throw the football. Drake London had no receptions, no catches, no yards in that first game. Kyle Pitts is rarely used. So anyways, I'm taking the Green Bay Packers to beat the Atlanta Falcons. Seattle versus Detroit. I think this is probably the game of the week. This is one of the best matchups you're going to see all week between the Seahawks and the Lions. Last year, these two teams played each other, and you had an offensive shootout because last year, none of these teams had a defense. Seattle looking to avoid an 0-2 start. Detroit trying to prove that they are a real deal team. But I think Seattle wins this game. I think, yes, they played horrible against the Rams in week 1. They dealt with some injuries. They just didn't play good football, especially in that second half. I think they bounce back against this Lions team. I just think they have too many good pieces on that offense. Detroit's defense is really good. They have improved compared to last season. But give me the Seahawks to win on Sunday. Colts versus Texans in division matchup between some of the worst teams in the NFL. The Indianapolis Colts win this game. Chicago Bears versus Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Baker Mayfield. Give me the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Giants versus the Cardinals. I have an upset right here, being the Arizona Cardinals winning this game against the New York Giants. The Giants fall to 0-2, and they lose to the worst team in the league, the Arizona Cardinals, or seemingly the worst team in the league, because after this loss, the Giants are clearly going to be the worst team in the NFL. Give me the Cardinals in that game. Niners versus Rams in division matchup. I'm taking the 49ers. This is one of the most complete rosters in the entire NFL from top to bottom. Purdy fits the system perfectly with Kittle, Ayuk, Debo, and McCaffrey on that offense. And then the defense is the best defense in the entire NFL. The Jets versus Cowboys. Zach Wilson versus Dak Prescott and that Cowboys defense. If Aaron Rodgers was playing, I would pick the Jets, but with Zach Wilson going up against one of the best defenses, a top 3 unit in the NFL, give me the Cowboys. Although this is going to be a great game defensively. In my opinion, you have a battle between 2 top 3 defenses going at it, but I'm going to take the Cowboys in this game. Commanders versus the Broncos. I am taking the Denver Broncos to win this game. Sunday Night Football. Dolphins versus Patriots. The Dolphins were amazing. Week 1 against the Chargers. Tua, Tyreek Hill were incredible. I'm going to take the New England Patriots, though. I think they played very well against the Philadelphia Eagles. They almost came back and won that game. It was within 1 score. And I think that Patriots defense is going to find a way to maybe not stop Tyreek Hill, but limit his productivity. And behind a horrible Dolphins offensive line, I could see the Patriots defensive line feasting on Tua in this game. Give me the Patriots over the Dolphins. We have 2 Monday Night Football games. The Saints versus Panthers is the first one. I'm going to take the Saints to win this game. I think they're going to just dominate against this Carolina Panthers offensive line and Bryce Young. And then the second Monday Night Football game, Cleveland versus the Steelers in division AFC North matchup. And I'm going to take the Pittsburgh Steelers. They played horrible in week 1 against the Niners. They only scored 7 points. They had no offense, and Kenny Pickett didn't look good. The defense was good it wasn't great. They gave up a ton of points to the 49ers. But look, Deshaun Watson looked okay in his first game back against the Bengals, or his first game of the season against the Bengals. The running game, the defense for Cleveland was incredible. But give me Pittsburgh. I think Kenny Pickett bounces back. I think in division matchup here, I just like the Steelers. That's probably going to be a wrong pick. I guarantee you it's probably going to be the wrong pick, and Cleveland's probably going to win this game. But I'm going to take the Pittsburgh Steelers. I almost wanted to change my pick, but I realized I can't really. So I'm going to stick with the Steelers here to win on Monday night. So those are the week 2 picks. Remember, we're 8-8 here on the season. Trying to stay 500 or better throughout the entire year. Hopefully, we can do an episode on Monday recapping these games. I mean, just like I did so much like prep for every single game of week 1 on Monday night. But there's just no time to fit in the pod. And then on Tuesday, no time. Wednesday, Thursday, I had no time to do a pod. But we're here Friday with with this episode. Hopefully we can do it on Monday. So thank you so much for watching this episode. YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music. Follow the TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. All of those are active. We are out there on those platforms. I will be back hopefully on Monday recapping NFL Week 2. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys